talking about reforms within the United Nations to try and represent and also reflect multilateralism the way it is today across the world. And he's also said that not only is India looking at being self-reliant and resilient, but it is also looking at doing this in pace with the world, working with the people of the world as an inclusive entity, not isolationist. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar with us. Ambassador Sajjanar, India, they're very, very clear as to where it wants to be, where it sees its place in the world, and also where it wants the world to be going forward. Is there any doubt in terms of or absence of clarity in terms of foreign policy and what India wants to represent itself and how India wants to position itself to the world here?
No, not really. I think the Prime Minister was very clear. He was very direct. And I think what he has been speaking about in terms of having a reformed multilateralism and with a reformed United Nations, because that is what is going to take the world forward. Also, I think a very important statement that he made was that we need to introduce globalization with a human face. Because we have seen that whether it is the World Trade Organization or it is any of the other multilateral organizations, they get stymied because globalization has benefited many people, but it has also helped, it has also resulted in increasing the disparity between the rich and the poor, increasing the inequities between the rich and the poor, and also as far as climate change is concerned, it has had a very adverse impact on that. Right. So the Prime Minister spoke about how we need globalization with a human face. That means people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, right, they also can be helped.
Prime Minister also talking about the JAM model, which he's spoken internally, but there he said that is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile, and he said it's not just about accounts but unique identity and also mobile phones, and we've tried to integrate that and create a technological base. And this he was speaking at the UN ECOSOC, or that is the UN Economic and Social Council. Now, in terms of foreign policy, earlier in the evening, we also had the Foreign Minister S Jaishankar put out a tweet, thread, in a long thread on Twitter, replying to Congress MP Rahul Gandhi's criticism of the centre's handling of foreign affairs. Now, in reply to Rahul Gandhi, S Jaishankar very clearly came out and said examples to highlight what India has been doing to work to not just improve ties with its neighbours, but also realign and reposition itself globally as to a nation which cannot be taken lightly and cannot be trod over. And also putting in more weight and wielding more heft as far as geopolitics is concerned. He took on point by point, and the Foreign Minister ended his counter-attack with the suggestion, ask yourself, ask the analyst, ask the citizens, ask the diplomats, ask everybody what we've been able to do. And he did that vis-a-vis trade, vis-a-vis security, vis-a-vis response, geopolitical positioning, and of course improving India's stature globally. Ambassador Sajjanar, I'm sure you would have perused S Jaishankar's response. We'll put out one by one all that he said today. But what stands out is this is on a day when after 55 years, for the first time, we have had a container ship of steel travel from Kolkata. It will go to Chattogram or Chittagong, and then move onward to Agartala. First time in 55 years that's been made possible. First time in a long time that we have our boundary settled with Bangladesh, which happened in 2015. A lot of these developments, we did Balakot and Uri, he spoke about. Rahul Gandhi never asked about Pakistan. He said, oh, you skipped Pakistan? This is what we did. Pakistan realizes a change in our policy. What we've been able to do with Bhutan, how we were able to do it, work with Sri Lanka, even though right now China is trying to exercise its, control there.
No, absolutely. You're very right. I think a point-by-point response has been given. And I think to all of these, even as far as, let's say, Nepal is concerned, because Mr. Rahul Gandhi had picked up Nepal. But then he has said in terms of the manner in which we have done all the developmental projects as far as Nepal is concerned. And there he said, ask the people. Then he also pointed out, to Afghanistan. And there he said all the projects, for instance, what was known as the Salma Dam, or what is now known as the Afghanistan-India Friendship Dam, or the Parliament building. All these projects had really been hanging fire for the last more than 15 years. And they were taken in hand and they were completed very, very expeditiously. And the Prime Minister traveled on both these occasions to dedicate these projects, these very significant high-value projects in Afghanistan. You know what Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Anand has also mentioned about Maldives.
Yeah.
You know what I feel very sad about is that there are so many inaccuracies in this tweet or in this video that has been put out by Mr. Rahul Gandhi, because he says our relations with Maldives were so good, but they were not good. You know, in 2012, it was the government of Mohammed Nasheed which was thrown out by Abdullah Yameen.
Yes.
And after that, our relations really plummeted. And it's only subsequently the manner in which the Modi government was able to deal with the situation as Abdullah Yameen was trying to stifle democracy there. But after that, 2 years ago, we had Ibrahim Soli coming back, and the relations are again come up doing extremely well. So I think across the board, and you look at our relations with Japan, the sort of dynamism and vitality that our relationship has got, with Australia, how our relations have developed and evolved, and of course with the United States, which has emerged as a very significant global partner. And while going through all this, you know, Russia has also continued to be a very important partner. And that relationship has also been taken forward. So I think it is unfortunate that what I feel at this moment, when the whole country should really be coming around to support the government, because it is facing a challenge domestically with the COVID, with the economy, and also on the borders.
Right.
That we have sort of, you know, senior leaders of opposition parties who are carping.
This is at a time when, you know, the world is saying, America says that, you know, we are encouraged by India, which has started this global pushback against the expansionists. This is at a time when an Australian MP, while speaking to me here on the right stand, says that we are encouraged because Australia is wanting to work closely with India in terms of developing the Quad. This is at a time when the world is talking about, and India has pushed this, you know, D10 nations in terms of all the top 10 democracies to work together to try and bring in the true spirit of democracy and multilateralism that's been spoken about. This is at a time when there is a huge push towards G7+4. That's a G11 nations.
No, absolutely. I think in all this, the increased profile, the increased prestige, the increased relevance and significance of India is being recognized the world over. And you would have seen, you know, that before this, countries have been making some comments against Chinese forays in the South China Sea, but they have been few and far in between. And what I can see is that after the Prime Minister's visit to Ladakh on the 3rd of July and his address to the soldiers there, where he said that the days of expansionism are over. Now is the time for development. You know, after that, you see that there have been a sort of a chorus of voices coming from all around, whether it is the United States. Earlier this week, we had Mike Pompeo coming out saying that Chinese attempts to occupy islands or to create new islands in South China Sea will not be tolerated. China's attempts to create this 9-dashed line and claim 90% of the South China Sea as its own, that will be considered unlawful because it falls ultra wires of the UNCLOS 1982. So I think it has given, Australia has come out, we have United Kingdom also coming out, and many other countries, even in ASEAN, they have also sort of, you know, developed the courage to speak out against China. And I think this is sort of, you know, all these things are coming together, and it speaks highly of what India has been able to achieve. But
one of the criticisms, one of the criticisms which has also come, and Ambassador, I'd request you to please dwell on it, is that perhaps our current foreign policy is too US-centric. There is a realignment. We've taken a deviation from the one China policy, etc. But are we getting too US-centric?
Anand, I don't think we are getting too US-centric because wherever we feel that our interests demand, we are able to differ from the United States and fully follow our interests and realize our interests. At the moment, what I would say is that India and United States need each other. Earlier, there used to be a congruence of values, both our democracies, rule of law, freedom of speech, etc., openness, transparency. Today, there is a convergence of interests, and that is in economic interest, that is also in strategic interest, because we have seen the aggressiveness of China. But wherever our own interests are involved, specific interests, we are able to withstand stand up against the United States. And I'll give you a few examples. The S-400 imports from Russia, or for that matter, working on the Chabahar port. There also, I think we were able to stand up against the United States.
True, but right now, in terms of working with nations individually and also geopolitically strengthening ourselves, there has been a lot of strong case made, and it stood out. It was nice to see the foreign minister also not just point by point rebut, but he also said there's a difference between how we dealt with Pakistan earlier and how we deal with Pakistan now. Balakot versus 2611. Ambassador Sajanar, thank you very much. We've got limited time left. Now, as we go, since it was Pakistan, Imran Khan earlier in the day tweeted that it is amongst the fortunate countries where COVID cases in the country are doing better, and he said that wish India could learn from us, and he's tried to talk as if we are doing better, they're doing better. As a nation of just 20 crore people, they're able to do better than India is. We are a nation of 1.3 billion people. 4 सूबे आपके नहीं संभल रहे हैं. We are 28 states and 8 union territories, and here is the numbers. Cases per million in India is 743, Pakistan is 1,231. Deaths per million is 18.9, they are 25.9. Tests per million, we are 9,230, you are 7,480. Good. Keep looking up to us, Mr. Imran Khan, and keep playing catch up. That's the way to go forward. That's all we have time for tonight on The Right Stand. Stay with us. Brass Tags up next.